Here we are relining a set of Bentley 3-liter vintage Bentley brake shoes. These were worn extremely thin. You can see an original liner that's coming off the car is just over 3/16 of an inch thick. The new liner is supposed to be closer to 3/8 of an inch thick. The linings were not only glazed, as you can see from the shine, but they were worn down to the point that the steel stops at the end of the brake shoe were the only thing making contact with the drums. The answer to this is relining. However, that is complicated by the fact that previous relining jobs had hogged out all of the holes that are supposed to be 3/16 of an inch, and they are now out of round and pointing in all kinds of different directions. So we're starting by modifying some 1/4 inch rivets with a 7/16 head, thinning the heads down, and we will re-drill all of these shoes in order to put a nice tight fitting 1/4 inch rivet, but with a shrunken size rivet head. That's going to involve counterboring each of the linings and using a special tool in order to set the rivets properly. At this point, we've drilled the linings. You can see a 1/4 inch hole, and we're using a counterbore here to make a plunge cut that is piloted and will now set the correct hole for each rivet head. That leaves plenty of material for the rivet to grab onto on the shoe, properly sets the depth of the rivet in order to peen it over, and allows all of the rivet heads to be nice and tight. Each rivet will be pressed into place using a riveting tool. This is an air riveter. It puts tons per square inch of force onto the rivets, and we make up custom dollies depending on the needs of individual brake shoes. Because these aluminum cast shoes have an upper lip, they're not like a modern American shoe that is just a couple of pieces of steel welded together. They require a special offset in order to get the rivet straight. As we have not put our bonding agent on the linings yet, I'm not going to fully peen over this rivet, but this will show you exactly how it works. We typically use riveting and epoxy bonding material on linings if the holes have been drilled over, or if there's any question that we want a belt and braces, belt and suspenders approach. The rivet dolly is not a hard-hitting tool like a hammer. It's gradually pressed down using air pressure until it centers on the rivet, at which point the rivet is compressed. You repeat that throughout the process, and your rivets are set. You always work from the center of the shoe to the outsides. That way you don't end up with an air pocket or a raised shoe in the middle because it compresses. The way you do not work this machine is as a hammer. It does not work that way. You use it with very careful downward pressure in order to set your rivet.